What's up, y'all? Shuffle. Welcome to the final tier list video for Trinkets. I actually recorded this once and I was not happy with it, so I'm doing it again. I'm hoping I can make it a little bit shorter. So to start off, I'm going to go through all the hero class trinkets. So everything from where they start to where they finish, all rarities. And when I do the Arbalest, I'm going to consider her and the Musketeer alongside themselves, or like as the same entity. And then I'm going to treat it differently for the two farmstead trinkets because they are different. Otherwise, here's what we're working with. There's a lot of stuff. It's going to take a minute to get through. And we have a new tier just for this one. And these will be unfair trinkets. So basically just anything that's completely busted. And it's like, it goes in every build. And it's just a little overstated or a little overpowered. Starting off with Abomination, since I have everything in almost perfect order. The Lock of Patience is 10% virtue chance. This is an instant sell. It is bad, especially on someone that has stress heal. Like a self-stress healing move. Padlock of Transference. This is S tier. This gives you stun and blight chance. This lets Abomination stay in his human form for a very long time. So you can just run this and like a tank trinket and you can just do status and stun. It's pretty awesome. Protective Padlock is 15 prot and 1 speed. This is pretty bad, but if you have nothing else, it's still okay. The Lock of Fury. So this is 10% damage, 3 speed, minus 10% HP. I apologize if I'm going a little too fast, but like I said, I don't want this video to be an hour and a half, which is where it ended the first time. So this is an A. So if you want to do Transform Abomination, this thing is pretty good for that. So you just need to give him some kind of way to get accuracy, and then maybe a tank trinket or something if you have Jester, and he can do pretty well in that setup. The Restraining Padlock, I actually don't like this that much at all. So this thing, it lowers stress when he's transforming, especially against the party and himself. And that can be very impactful. But usually if you're playing Abomination and you plan to transform exclusively, you probably want to buff up his melee stats. And you're also planning around the stress that he's already inflicting. So you're probably bringing some kind of stress healer, which means that having a trinket that shaves off stress, here and there, is probably not as effective as giving him damage, because it's a lot easier to find stress healing. It is not as easy to find damage for characters outside of trinkets. So it's like pretty much Jester and like camp skills and then Man-at-Arms, and that's it. So his Crimson Court set, I have 3 tabs because I'm very cool. So you get minus stress plus dodge, so 15 and 10. And then the chains are crit and range damage. The damage isn't that important. It is kind of nice for the manacles. But the crit is really helpful to help his debuff stick because you get 20% increased chance on a critical. The cloak is probably S, right? It's 15 and 10 dodge. That's actually pretty, no, I'd say. It's still really good, but you can get away with a lot on Abomination to give him damage and stuff like that, defenses probably aren't as important. And the chains are also A, and the set together is still probably an A. So I don't want to make like a separate thing showing the sets together because I'd have to reset everything. So I'm just going to say what they are as I finish them. So since both trinkets are A, sometimes the set bonus is really wacky and it might be S, but otherwise, both trinkets are A, set bonus is okay. Oh yeah, the set bonus, we didn't even talk about that. So 20% damage if in position 1. So you have to really set this up. So it's like you do all your human stuff, then you transform and slam, and then you get bonus damage. Or you have someone dance back. But I don't know, like I would rather just make some other trinket combination here. Especially with our next thing, like Broken Key. Phone please. So Broken Key is our first unfair trinket. Broken Key is something everyone was telling me that I didn't talk about enough in my hero tier list video. So Broken Key is 15 accuracy, unconditional, 35% stun chance. That is a lot. And then 10% stress on someone that can heal their own stress. This is just unfair, right? This is unfairly statted. It's 15 accuracy when it could have been 10. It's 35 stun chance when it could have been 20, and it still would have been busted. And then you get that downside that he has a very good way of managing. So this thing can go on every single Abomination build. Like if you plan to transform a lot, still use Broken Key. It gives you 15 accuracy. If you don't plan to transform, you get double stuns. Like, even if they have 140 stun resist after you hit them the first time, you have a pretty good chance of stunning them again. So yeah, the Broken Key is in fact broken. So that's why it is up there in the unfair. So we're going to talk about Antiquarian next. Starting with the Bag of Marbles, that's just a flat 10 dodge. That's pretty good for a common trinket. And Antiquarian has some pretty good solid dodge on her own. Then she has Vapors and Get Down. So having an extra 10 dodge, again, I'm gauging common trinkets for like 0 to 2. And then, you know, like every respective tier of trinkets for the appropriate level. So green is kind of like level 2 to 4. And then blue is like 4 to 5. And then, you know, orange is 6 and so on. So the Bag of Marbles at 0 to 2 is pretty powerful. Before I go rambling on, I'm going to move on. This thing, the Blood Course Charm, or Medallion, excuse me. So 33% healing received. Antiquarian has a lot of access to dodge, or lowering their accuracy, or forcing someone to guard her, or you're probably bringing someone to guard her, that she does not need healing received increase. This is just pretty bad on her. Like if you run 4 Antiquarians or something like that, then yes, this is probably okay, because then their little not good heal gets more value, but otherwise it's just not that good. Same with the Carapace idol. I don't know why it's a Carapace idol when it's a freaking Rhino. Like a Carapace is a bug thing, I thought, but 25% prot, just flat. It's okay, but again, her defenses are dodge and getting guarded. They're not getting hit. So the same reason applies to both of these. That's why they're down there. In the cell tier, the Fleet Florin, I love this thing. So this, you could argue this is S. This is just a flat 4 speed, plus the debuff chance that applies to Flash Powder, so it's okay in that regard. Flash Powder is better in certain circumstances than Invigorating Vapors, but otherwise, the extra speed helps Antiquarian because she is a character like Occultist, where she wants to go as early in the round as possible so she can set up and protect herself. So if you have something that guarantees that, it's a lot better. The Candle is also A tier. So the Candle gives her 15% max HP, which is okay for the reasons, you know, like she doesn't get, we don't want her to get hit, so it's like that defense is kind of eh. But the extra 50% on her healing, I think puts her heal to like 5 health at level 6. So that is okay, like that's usable and not complete crap. So if you have that and some other way of supplemental healing, she can chip in, so I like it a day. Crimson Quartz sets. The Master's Essence might actually be S, because it just lets her do everything. So you have plus 50% healing skills, plus blight skill, plus debuff chance. All those are pretty good. The 2 of 3 isn't that good, because you'd have to probably run like Nervous Stab, otherwise you're just giving yourself a buff on Festering Vapors, but the bonus crit does give her Blight repeated chances of higher crit at 8%. So that's actually okay. Which means this is actually B, but this set together may be S tier because, like I was saying before, she wants speed to set up, and then she wants dodge because that's her best defense. So you give her both of these, there's no downside on any of them, and it just makes everything she does better. It even makes Nervous Stab better. Like this just covers everything. It just makes her better. So it's like, how can that not be at least A? Or in some cases S. I think it's S. It's a pretty good set. Let's see. I know I'm talking pretty quick. I apologize. So the Smoking Skull. So you lose accuracy, which there are some builds where you don't have to attack with her, and then Blight Resist. If she has enough dodge, she doesn't get hit by Blight. So who needs Blight Resist at that point? This is a pretty solid A. And we're going to see with some of the other conditional things in the Farmstead that this is an okay condition to have, because Shard Dust is something you don't usually pop. It's there if you need it, especially if you have comps that are kind of built around it. Sometimes, like I've seen Man-at-Arms that can spam bolster using this or something like that. So it's not something like Houndmaster, where Houndmaster wants to use dog treats, so it's like, why does he have something that relies on having them? So this is just a chunk of dodge, and that's good enough for her. So I think that might be an okay A. Let's see. Sturdy Greaves. These suck. Like, these are just straight up sell these on site. So you get move resist, who cares? You get move skill chance. Like, who is using Bola to move stuff? It hits 2 things. Sometimes they can move one and not the other, and then no one moves anywhere, or whatever, and it's just stupid. And then you lose 1 speed, which is actually the best thing about it, because it lets her be slow and set up. But yeah. So the Vengeful Greaves, this is plus 3 crit. These are good. Like, for a common, I've said with other damage trinkets, you're usually looking for accuracy, but Arbalest is not looking for accuracy. On sniper shots, she's usually pretty good about that, so you can actually afford to give her damage. So as such, the Vengeful Greaves are in fact B tier. The Medic's Greaves, these are another B, and the reason is that Arbalest is a really good support healer, so you get 33% extra healing. She's a pretty good support healer, so if you have another healer alongside of her, she gets better. But her, like, single target healing, like, you can get it up to, I don't know, some pretty good numbers, probably around, like, 15 if you have the Greaves and then, like, you stack the bandage. But you have to keep hitting the same person, and usually the same person doesn't need more than, like, 2 heals unless they're, like, guarding. So these are okay. They're usable, but they're not my absolute favorite. The Bullseye Bandana, again, Arbalest doesn't struggle for accuracy. She likes crit. She struggles for flat damage. So anything that gives her flat damage is usually better. So this is a B, because you lose dodge, but it's still not the end of the world. You're basically just getting 5 crit off this. And there are other sources for crit, especially when you start getting into blue, that this isn't as impactful. The Wrathful Bandana. So we can actually afford to lose healing skills here, because Arbalest, her strength is in the fact that she increases healing received with her bandage. And then no one really cares about the debuff skill chance, because honestly, Suppressing Shot is just not that good. Like, you can make it work. I'm sure everyone's tried it. You have some builds for it. It's honestly just not that good of a skill. But having 25% flat damage, which is what I was saying she struggles with, being able to get that is pretty nice. And that's a class trinket, so it's even better in that circumstance. The Crimson Quartz set. So the Bunny, the Childhood Treasure, I believe the healing skills also stack with the healing camp skills, so you just get plus 50% healing in camp. If I'm wrong, please tell me, but that makes it pretty cool. And then you get minus stress, so it's like, it's okay for both of those reasons. And also, 30% healing, oops, I'm on the wrong thing. 30% healing is a pretty big chunk, so it's like, it's just Medic Greaves that have been power crept. And it's like, if I have Medic Greaves in B, and then there's power creep Medic Greaves, why not have it, you know, a tier higher? The Bedtime Story, though, this is where it gets kind of sad. This is just basically 8 crit to her that's conditional. So I don't think this is that good. Because like I said, she doesn't struggle for accuracy that much. It's nice if she has it, obviously. You want to be accuracy cap, but it's just not as good for her as flat damage or crit. So that's why I put it in B. The set bonus is pretty nice at 25% prot, but backline, especially rank 4, is probably the spot in the team that takes the least direct hits. So the 25% prod isn't as impactful, but it does matter. She has a surprising amount of hit points if you've never looked at her. She's got like 50 or so. Keening Bolts, these are S. So Keening Bolts are pretty disgusting. So you get 20% flat damage, which she only does range damage, so who cares? But then you get 7% range crits. So this is what we were saying. She doesn't struggle for accuracy, so you give her damage and crit. That covers everything. These hit really hard. And then the on attack stress, you can work that off because she has a pretty good chance of getting kills and crits, which always work off 3 stress. So as long as you're getting a kill in like every 4 hits, then usually this just gets worked back. And the other thing too is what sucks, where it says on attack you get the stress, this applies to Rallying Flare, because Rallying Flare is classified as an attack, and so is Suppressing Fire. So that's pretty crappy to get that on those, to get stressed by using that. It's one of my least favorite interactions. The Musketeer. Okay. So these musket balls, the icosahedric, it's 20% flat damage, so that's the same as the Arbalest. But then you get this. You get 20% chance to random target. And I'm pretty sure that's to fit in with Musketeer's origin comic, which is her missing in a tournament, like a marksman tournament. But the fact is she's a marked character, and she needs to hit the marked target. So if she can't hit the marked target 1 in 5 times, that is horrible. Like, that is completely awful. I don't know who the heck let this through testing. It's just so bad. Like, this should have been maybe -5 or 5% chance to random target and 25% damage or 30% damage. Then it would have been good. But as such, it's just another reason not to use Musketeer. It's just really bad. So the Agility Talent for Bounty Hunter. This thing is S tier. You get 1 speed and 4 dodge, which, you know, usually 1 speed or 4 dodge in common is probably good enough for A. So having both should make it S. Just a really good early trinket. You'll probably use this to like level 3 or 4 when you start fighting other stuff. The unmovable helmet. Wouldn't this be immovable? I don't know. So move resist, move skill chance. This is actually usable. It's not that good, but it is usable if you want to do like come hither and flashbang and uppercut. So you have like 3 different moves that can move enemies. The camping helmet. I forget what this is. Camper's helmet. So the stress skills is kind of whatever, but this is just 10 scouting chance unconditional. I slept on this item pretty hard, and I love scouting. So being able to get 10 scouting is awesome. And you get it in green, so that's really before you start finding really good damage items. So this gives him some pretty good utility that a lot of other classes don't have access to early on. The Hunter's Talons, I love these. I use these all the time. This is S tier. So you have 6 crit, 10 accuracy. Just incredible. Bounty Hunter does need a little bit of extra accuracy. 6 crit helps him just rip through things. Then you have the 50% food consumed, which is a noticeable penalty, but it's still kind of small in the grand scheme of things, so it's still good enough for S. Alright, what's next? The Wounding Helmet. I don't like this thing that much. By the time you start fighting it, there are other ways to get like big damage. So this could be A if you just go like all in on Bounty Hunter damage. And like that's all you do, because you don't get to stun and you don't get to uppercut and pull. And it's like, I could do other things for damage than this. So I would actually put it in B, because I think Bounty Hunter is better when he gets to uppercut and flashbang. So if he can't do either of those in a fight on his off turns and he's just hitting stuff, that's not great. So I'm not a huge fan of this item. The Crimson Quartz sets. So the Maulers are good. The Vengeful List is actually really good, but it's just the fact that it affects like the moves and caltrops. So if it affected other stuff, it would, or if this was on like Houndmaster without the move chance or something like that, that would be pretty good. But as it is, it's ranged accuracy. So you get no accuracy for putting these two together. So I'm going to put the Maulers in A. They could be S. I don't know, you're going to hear that a lot, because I know that there's a lot of things that can go up or down, especially. So if you want to say they're higher or lower, like if your gut check is, those are S shuffle, like, yeah, they might be. They might actually be. If you said they're S, I probably wouldn't fight you on it. So with this, the goal too is to have at least 2 of these at a time, either marked, stunned, or bleeding. It would be nice if you can have all 3, but usually if you have all 3, they're just dead anyway at that point. Like their whole world is messed up. And then you get this fat crit. So if you run like Jester, this gets a lot better. But the kill list is B, just because it's required to make the set, which makes the set probably A tier. And you have to run like a very specific thing. You have to run like your, actually no you don't. You can pick whichever melee move you want. So you could use Finish Him or Collect Bounty. And then you just make sure they're bleeding, and then you just get big damage. So I do like it. The not Crimson Court, the Farmstead, the Mask. Mask of the Timeless. Small stress penalty, speed and dodge. This is pretty solidly A. This is S, honestly. It's just weird, because if this was on anyone else, this would be incredible. If this was like a Plague Doctor trinket, my goodness, it'd be amazing. But it's like on Bounty Hunter, who wants damage, and he's better at taking hits and using like tank items than he is at just straight dodging. Like his dodge is pretty average. So it's still good. The 2 speed is actually what makes it really good. So I guess I'll just leave it there. The Crusader. So we have Defender Seal. So 5 prot, 3 crit penalty. This is just instant sell. That's like shaving off 1 damage for losing 3 crit. I can just get out of my face. I hate that. The Knight's Crest here. This might be A, right? Because it's common. And there's no downside, and it's 10% max HP on someone who has the 2nd highest max HP total. So that's actually really powerful. I like that a lot. This is pretty good early on, because you're probably not using Battlefield Heal. The Swordsman Crest, you just get 10% melee damage. So all of his attack moves are melee, even Holy Lance. And then you lose 50% healing, and Inspiring Cry is a better heal, so who cares? Paralyzer's Crest is S tier. So you lose 2 dodge, which is completely unimportant to Crusader, and you get 20% stun skill. This thing is just top tier. Like, I love this thing. I even use it at like level 6. If I want to use a strictly support Crusader, I put this on and then give him like a stress heal thing and then just bop stuff and stun it. It's really nice. The Commander's Orders. So stress heal received, not as good as stress heal output, but you know what, who cares? Minus 10% damage does suck, but it's not the end of the world. And then plus 33% healing. This thing lets you run Crusader as a solo healer in your party. A lot of people don't do that, but you know, in my experiences, I've ran Crusader as solo healer on like boss missions where I just give him the Commander's Orders and then like Ancestor Scroll, and then he can just put out respectable healing numbers and do some okay support. He just can't group heal, which pretty much is a weakness everyone has because they're not Vestal. So he's still a pretty solid healer in that respect. So if you haven't tried that, give it a shot. I think you might like it. Plus, the benefit of Crusader versus Vestal is Crusader can heal from anywhere. You can put him rank 1, he heals rank 4, he heals rank 2, he heals rank 3, same thing. So I think this is a pretty slept on item. It's just the fact that he has other stuff he could be doing, like Paralyzer's Crest, that makes this not as good. The Holy Orders. I almost want to put this in Cell Tier, but it's not Cell Tier. It's almost Cell Tier. These just kind of suck. So you get Death Blow, but it's easier to die because you lose status resist. You get minus stress, but then like plus virtue on someone that has stress healing built in. So it's just not that good, but it's like, if you need it, it's there. So I don't feel right putting it in Cell Tier, but it could probably be Cell Tier. It's honestly not that good. So Glittering Spalders. Okay. So the Signed Conscription is S because this is healing and stress healing. This is Ancestor Scroll with no downside. And if I can make Ancestor Scroll S tier, then this should be S as well by by comparison. The Spalders are not that good. So we're going to put the Spalders in, I guess, B. Like, they're okay. They get the job done. 15 prot, minus stress, minus speed. Movers, those two cares. Crusader's not going first anyway, so this is just basically 15 prot, and then, what is it, the minus stress? The set together is probably A instead of S, because if this had stun chance, it would be S. But as such, it's just like support Crusader who can get hit and like not die. So that's about it. And there are better ways to tank than having Bulwark of Faith and marking yourself. So it's an A tier set, but it's like got an S tier trinket. The Euclidean Hilt, though. This thing is really fun. The chance to randomly target isn't really that bad because sometimes you can throw like a stunning blow to the 4th rank. So that's pretty cool. And then you get some defenses. You get stun chance up. And Holy Water's an item you usually hold on to. It stays in your inventory for most of the run until you find like a boss or something. Or, Curio, which there aren't too many that take it. And then you get a chance to increase damage. So Crusader doesn't have a lot of damage trinkets, and this gives him damage. So that's pretty cool there. So the 120, if that was higher, it'd be nicer, but it's still really good, and it's really efficient at what it's doing. All right, so Flagellant, the Heartburst Hood. This is just super good. So whenever he gets under, 40%, he's going first next turn. He already has high speed. It's really awesome. Can't say too much else about it. Just gives him a lot of insurance. The Resurrection's Collar, so 33 healing skills, minus bleed chance. This sucks. Like, you can make a case for B just to heal people with Redeem. This doesn't even affect Reclaim, that's why it's not that good. The Punishment's Hood is an A. So you have bleed skill chance, and then healing skills. This doesn't matter too much. And then plus damage if you're low health. This is just really good. The Suffering's Collar is also A, because if you want a good defensive option, here it is. So if you get low health, you get some good resist, and you have 10% max HP the whole time. So it's actually a nice option. The Eternity's Collar, this is just a not quite as good Martyr Seal, but it's still very good. So you get Death Blow, you get Dodge at Death's Door, which I'm pretty sure he loses 20% Dodge at Death's Door, so this like evens him out. And then if he's afflicted or close to afflicting, he gets a pretty big damage spike. So I like that a lot. His set, though. I said this is the worst set, and I stand by that. Except maybe Jester, if I can be quite honest. But individually, the items are okay. We talked about this in Discord. It's just that together they suck. Like, you can get more effective stats out of using a Martyr Seal and a Bleed Charm, or Bleed Amulet, than you could just stacking these two. So as such, these are both B. Like, individually they're B, And no joke, the set together is probably cell tier. It somehow gets worse when you pair them up than if you just did other stuff than having them together. And I really just don't like this set at all. The Iker. I passed it. This is okay. I just don't like the tribal chance to bleed. If this was just like plus 15% universally, I would rate this a lot higher. So as such, I will put this in B. You probably could make a case for A. I'm sure there's someone out there that just makes this thing do just unspeakable acts in terms of effectiveness, but it's something you'd have to babysit, and I have had enough Mortar Flagellant to last me a lifetime, especially because I made a video on freaking dying with it. So maybe I have PTSD, who knows. Grave Robber is next. Let's see about the trinkets. So Quickening Satchel, this is just plus 2 speed. This is okay. Grave Robber usually goes first, so having more speed isn't as important unless it's rolled into something that gives you other stats. The Sickening Satchel is also B. So plus 2 speed was the other satchel, and then the Sickening one is 20% extra damage against Blight. Grave Robber kind of wants some accuracy early on, so having this when you're kind of struggling to put teams together in the early weeks is not as good as it is later. And when it's later, you just find better stuff. The Blighting Satchel is also a B. So she actually doesn't have too much trouble stacking Blight on stuff because she has a debuff that also lowers Blight resist. And the 1 speed is good, but not too important. And the -4 dodge is like, that's her only defense, so hampering that does suck. The Lucky's Talisman. Lucky's Lucky Talisman. So this is 12 dodge. Awesome. 10 accuracy. Throwing Dagger actually doesn't have great accuracy out of the box, so you help that a lot. And then 10 stress sucks, but usually she doesn't get hit. So if you're playing okay in Shadow Fading, then she's usually dodging half the time, so stress doesn't come in as often. The Raider's Talisman is instant S tier. So the Raider's Talisman is 5 crit, unconditional, 30 trap disarm, surprisingly helpful, 2 speed. So speed by itself, not that good for her. Speed rolled into other things is amazing for her. 15 scouting, this is probably the best thing about it, because having someone else to scout really helps. It helps you make your way through dungeons, find secret rooms, not get surprised, find bosses. There's just so many good benefits to scouting, and it's kind of hard to get a lot of it in one place, so this actually helps a lot. And then the -10 HP is probably just terrible. There's no probably, it is terrible. So if you have to be worried about that, then, make sure you have guards or stuns, like some way to protect her so she's not having to get hit in the face. The Absinthe, this is just a worse Hag's Ladle, or worse, not worst. Worse Hag's Ladle, this thing sucks. And then the Letter Opener is actually unfair. So what is this, like dichotomy or whatever? Is it dichotomy? I don't even know if that's the right word, but the Letter Opener is 25 melee damage, 10 accuracy, 5 dodge. No conditions. And if you're like, oh, those are pretty good, but Grave Robber herself has low base damage. Imagine if Leper had this. Would you give Leper 10 accuracy, 25 damage on one item? Yes. Bounty Hunter? Yes. So why not Grave Robber? The itemization is just too freaking good. And then the set bonus is more crit. So broken item, crappy item, A tier set, not S, sadly. The Top Shelf Tonic is interesting. If I can find it. So 15 dodge if you have medicinal herbs, those last a while. 3 speed, pretty good, rolled into something else obviously. Then 50 blight duration. Like, these are actually okay. So if you're fighting a boss that has multiple actions, usually 3 actions a turn is ideal, and then you just want to go Poison Dart spam, this will do a lot of extra damage. So this increases your Poison Dart damage by 8 every time you hit something, because it's giving you 2 extra rounds, so like 4 damage a round, goes up to from 16, so 4x4, 16, plus 8, 24 damage per Poison Dart, on top of like the 3 damage she does by hitting them. That's awesome. Would you use a move that consistently hits for 27? I would. The Hellion, I always start with like the big the. I don't know, it's something I'm noticing. I'm hoping you didn't notice until I said it, so I'm going to try and stop doing it. So Hellion gets plus 15% bleed chance on a white item. This is actually not bad, but it's just the fact that Hellion's bleeds aren't that good. You want her to do more on-hit damage, and the bleeds just kind of supplement. So having that isn't as good as it would be on like Jester or Houndmaster. The Selfish pendant is actually really good. Minus 15% stress, unconditional on a common. Yeah, not bad. Then we have the, what is this? The double-edged pendant. So you get max HP, minus stun resist. This sucks. This honestly just sucks. Like, I put this on like 2 times if I needed to, but otherwise it's just not good. The Heaven's Hairpin is S. So you get plus 10 accuracy, conditional, but like High Torch is where we want to be most of the time. Minus 25% stress in High Torch. You just get accuracy, which is the most important damage stat, and then minus stress. Like, how can you go wrong on that? Hell's Hairpin is another S, so Hellion's got some really good trinkets. Hell's Hairpin, 15 accuracy in Torchless, which is a lot. 10 crit in Torchless, a lot. Minus 10 bleed, sucks, but not the end of the world. Minus 10 debuff, not the end of the world. So this thing is very powerful for Torchless if you decide to take Hellion. And you have to obviously tweak your team a little bit for Torchless, but having someone that can put out consistent damage with high accuracy is always welcome. Her Crimson Court set. You kind of have to babysit the war paint, and usually it's easy enough to babysit in like the 50% range, but 25 gets kind of scary, so I usually keep it around 50. And then my biggest issue with Hellion has always been her speed, and I've always been saying she needs like 2 more speed, and that she's going to be, you know, terrifying. And then they give her 2 speed. So having speed, bleed skill, death blow, all good, reduced healing to keep you in your thresholds a little bit better, and then accuracy and dodge on top of it. These are both, like individually, these are A. You can kind of argue this might be S. I don't know, it's still pretty good. But, yeah, you know what, this is S. This is just really good. So it's kind of like that in terms of how they're split up. And then the set together is an S tier set. Because everything just works with any playstyle of Hellion except stunning, so you kind of miss out, but her stun chance is really good. And then you just get a lot of damage out of her. Thirsting Blade, though. The Thirst. This thing is great. So again, like I was saying, Hellion's always needed speed. They're giving her speed. And this thing is just like pretty much 100% uptime on the crit chance if you have like a Houndmaster in the party. So would you use a trinket that's 15 accuracy, 2 speed, 8 crit? Hell yeah, you would. Are you kidding me? This thing's an easy S. Just super good. The lose HP on miss thing, like if you got 15 accuracy, she's probably not missing, so this usually doesn't come into play. And you know what? You can even pair this with the Lioness Warpaint, so if you miss, you can just put yourself into your damage threshold, which is pretty awesome. Alright, Highwayman. This thing is the Drifter's Buckle, so it's an okay A. Considering it's a common trinket, it's okay. So you get dodge, you get trap disarm, stress heals kind of whatever at that level. The Flash Fire Gunpowder, I don't like this at all. Because, like, Highwayman's got point blank shot, but his range damage is kind of So, like, you want flat damage because you want to, like, not have to dance between, his damage types. So having just 10% range damage is not as impactful as it would be on other characters. Stalwart Buckle, 5 crit plus stress. This is usable. You just have to get him some accuracy, so it's usable. It's okay. What's the next one? I forget what this is. Dodgy Sheath. This is actually pretty good. So 8 dodge, 1 speed. Point blank accuracy, or point blank shot doesn't care too much about accuracy because it's already got a lot. So you can just get accuracy somewhere else if you want to even it out. Or use a freaking like Gunslinger's Buckle. So pretty good defensive trinket for him. Sharpening Sheath. This is actually really good. It's not just open vein. Like if you wanted to use Wicked Slice, you get 7 melee crit. Or Duelist Advance gets a crit chance bonus, which is also nice. Minus 1 speed sucks, but it's not that bad. Especially because once you start sticking open veins on enemies, you're faster than them anyway, so the minus 1 speed just doesn't matter. The Gunslinger's Buckle, I feel like people really like this thing, and then I just don't like it that much. But you know what? It's an A. This enables ranged Highwayman. So you can use pistol shot actually just like every turn, or grape shot. So I forgot about grape shot. I always forget about grape shot. It's just such an underwhelming move. But otherwise, you know, that's okay. I'd use that, so not bad. Moving into the Crimson Court set of Highwayman, this is in fact one of the most stupid like combination of trinkets possible. So individually, they're very strong. So we have the 2 speed, 10 dodge unconditional, 10 accuracy, 5 crit unconditional. Bonus stress sucks, but once you get the set together, you get plus 45% virtue chance. That puts you up to a baseline of 70% chance to virtue. That is freaking high. Which means, since these are just so good, they're S individually, just because, like I said, no conditions, no drawbacks, except for the stress, but you get so much offensive prowess. And together, this set would be up here in the unfair category. That's just how good it is. Everything else in Crimson Court, I wish it had the power level of the Highwayman set, but it doesn't, so. Them's the breaks. Crystalline Gunpowder. This is actually really good. This might be another S tier. TBH. This is just a lot of damage and some speed, and then a small drawback. I'm actually going to double check to make sure I'm recording properly. One sec. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. I just had to make sure that my window was capturing the right thing here, because I did have to restart stuff. And we are moving on to the Houndmaster. So the Agility Whistle, I think this is... It's probably S. It's just 1 speed and 4 dodge. That's pretty cool when you start out. And then the downside kind of sucks, but it's not as bad as like minus 20% bleed resist, for instance. The Scouting Whistle, I feel, isn't that good. I don't know. Let's see. So like this note here is saying that when you're in highlight, you get a bonus 15 scouting for being in highlight. And so when you're under 50, then this thing kicks in. So you're netting plus 5 bonus. So you're getting the a small bonus for playing in low light, which is okay. I mean, I do like scouting. So if you do play darkness, this is actually okay early on. So I'm just going to slap it an A. I'm going to move on here. The weighted cudgel, this might be S. Just because if you want to use a frontline Houndmaster, rank 2 Houndmaster is actually pretty good. Rank 1 Houndmaster has stuff to do. And giving yourself 25 stun chance and minus 1 speed, that's pretty sizable. It's pretty hard to argue against that one, I feel like. The dodge collar. Protective collar. So you get 12 dodge, minus 15% damage. All of Houndmaster's damage comes in like his bleeds. It's not so much his on-hit damage, unless you go Mark, which works. But, you know, like I said, his bleeds still do a lot of damage. So if you want to go defensive or dodge tanky, this helps you do that. So it's good. I don't know. It might be B, to be honest, because I usually don't like this style of Houndmaster, but if you end up playing it, then it can actually be very good. Let's see. The spiked collar. This might be S2. My goodness. That's a lot of stuff there. So you get 20% damage, which flat damage is always nice, and then you get 30% bleed skill chance. And bleeds are like what he needs to do his best damage. Like I said, he gets good damage off Mark, but when you get to bleed stuff, it's just an extra, you know, plus 6 or plus 9 in some cases, depending on the move. So that really opens him up. The minus healing skills isn't a big deal because you don't have to use lick wounds, and then the minus healing received does kind of suck. But I don't think it's enough of a drawback to pull this down to A, but you could probably make that case. The evidence of corruption, that is S tier. That is mega S tier. So you get 25 scouting. I'm all about scouting. I've been talking about scouting for 3 videos now. And then you get minus party surprise, and then you get the 10 stress, which is a pretty common drawback. It's not like the end of the world. You can play around it. You just have to be a little careful or have some kind of stress healing. So I think this thing is just amazing. Like, you can use evidence of corruption by itself. You don't have to use the set. You can just use that and get a lot of good stuff out of your Houndmaster. The Lawman's Badge, though. This thing, like, I go back and forth where I just hate this thing, and I just don't think it's that good, and I'm like, yeah, actually, it's pretty good. So the Lawman's Badge today, I'm feeling might be an A, just because Houndmaster does like to have just a bit of accuracy to cap him out, and then you get the stress skills while camping, which Houndmaster does have some pretty good stress healing in camping. And then his healing skills, that's whatever, and the downsides aren't too bad. Just, you know, if you're guarding, hopefully you don't get stunned. And then you get 25% damage and 5% crit if they're bleeding, which Houndmaster can set this up. And you can even run double Houndmaster, and one of them just Hounds Harries. And then the Houndmaster of the Crimson Court set just gets to pick whoever he wants. That's always fun to do. So I think individually they're S and A, and that's probably an S set. It's a very good set to have. The Huskfang Whistle. Where are you, Huskfang? Okay, so I actually hate this item. I'm certain people like it. I'm certain I'm going to get comments about, like, actually, it's pretty good shuffle. But hear me out here. So the plus 50% bleed skill, if you have dog treats, Houndmaster is trying to use dog treats because that gives you space for loot. And also, if you fight something hard, you need to pop dog treats. So you lose your best source of damage, which is his bleed effect, by using his damage item that he brings with him. I completely hate that mechanic. I hate that interaction. So I don't think this is that good. You lose dodge, which is also like his best thing. So the way this thing is supposed to have you play is to like save dog treats, which is already just not a good thing to be doing. And then guard, and then you lose guard, and then you're supposed to stress heal. So it's like, I'm incentivized to do damage here, and then when I'm out of dog treats, I just spam guard and stress heal on my damage dealer, and it's like, eh. So I'm just going to put it in B. I would actually put this in cell tier, but I think it does have some kind of potential in terms of use, because I know guarding with Houndmaster is pretty cool. So I'm just going to leave it down there. The Jester, though. So I went on like a 5-minute tangent about bloody dice, but I'm going to put them in S because I'm redoing this part. And I think they're S because that is a lot of bleed skill chance, and the minus bleed resist is bad, but like there aren't too many that hit Jester in rank 3. And then by the time you get to like rank like 3 and 5 and stuff like that, so veteran and champion, Jester has better stuff to be doing than using this for bleed. So you don't have to worry as much about like arterial pinch. So I think this is actually pretty good early if you run a bleed Jester. And I do like it. The dice, are these S2? I mean, they have to be, right? If I'm being consistent. Just because I've been talking about how hard it is to get accuracy early on and how dodge does scale pretty well at lower levels, just because the increases are minimal for the enemies and their accuracies are pretty bad. So any bit of dodge does help. The critical dice, these might be S tier as well. What the hell is going on with you, Jester? So 7% flat crit with no condition for a green. That is pretty awesome. So if you want to run anything in Jester damage related, this is pretty good to have because bleeds like to get critical bonus, Finale likes crit, Dirk Stab likes crit. It's pretty nice. The Tambourine I'm going to put in A. Like I hear people already mad that this should be S. And maybe it should be. It's weird because like I feel this is one of the most overrated trinkets. And maybe it is S. Because this just makes Jester very brain dead in terms of, you know, you just press Inspiring Cry. Obviously, you don't take this in Torchless, so I don't want to, you know, have to listen to that. But the, you know, the stress healing is good. He has a lot of stress healing in his kit, and then you have the minus stress when high torch, so I guess that's S. I guess it's S. I don't know. It feels like an A. The Dark Tambourine, though, this thing is so good. So you get Death Blow resist, which Jester does need in Torchless because he is pretty squishy. And then you get the minus stress in Torchless, which is awesome. And then you get the plus virtue in Torchless. So normally I don't like things that give you minus stress and plus virtue because it's like you're trying to lessen it, but then if you get there, but you're also a stress healer, so it's like what the heck. But the difference is Torchless. So in Torchless, stress is huge. You can get like hit for, you know, 25, 30 stress pretty routinely, crits into the 40s, stuff like that. So stress is pretty massive. And so it's pretty likely that you're going to get afflicted in Torchless at some point. So having some kind of insurance is always welcome. The set, though, I am not a fan of this set at all. So I guess I'll put him in B because, I mean, there's still, this is like cell tier. Honestly, by itself, this thing is complete crap. So the Jester set, you get, you know, a massive stress healing thing, and then he gets a pretty big stress penalty, so it's kind of like not good. And then this finger bone, what the heck is this, man? So you get plus 3 speed and then plus 20 dodge up front, which helps you, like if you're going to finale, like that's all it's for. So it's like, do you want a trinket that lasts for one turn basically, unless you get surprised or something like that? And usually when you use finale, you're trying to end the fight that turn. So the only time this thing really sees the light of day is you Dirk Stab or you solo up to the front. They try and hit you for the rest of the turn. You dodge everything and then you finale. Well, you can do that with like any other combination of trinkets. Like a Feather Crystal can almost do this. The Tempting Goblet can do this. There are a lot of other ways to get pretty good amounts of speed and dodge. Not to mention that Jester is probably using Battle Ballad before he gets up there. So who really cares for this thing. I don't know. I would rather put on damage if I'm going finale than put on something like this. Unless I'm using like Divina Commedia. That's the only exception. Oh, we have to do the Color Madness Trinket. I keep forgetting about this. Oh, yes, the Dirge. The Dirge is good. Yeah, the Dirge is S tier. You could probably make a case for it being broken because you get the conditional damage here. Oh, this is so good. Is it broken? It might be. It might actually be. I don't know. I'm gonna leave it an S for now. Like, this penalty is pretty small comparatively, and then this is a pretty big upside. My voice cracked, but it's a pretty big upside that has no condition. And then Laudanum's not too common to use, so you can just take one. Especially if you're not doing Farmstead, and then you just get plus 25% damage. It's really nice. Leper. Leper. Healing Armlets. I would actually put this in Cell tier. Like, I know there's some people that just really value healing recovery. Or healing received, I should say. I mean, I guess it's here. I think it's Cell tier. I'm gonna put it in here. So, like, when you're starting off, Leper, oh, it's like this, right? Leper doesn't have a reliable way to tank. If Leper had guard, I would probably put this in B. But Leper has a mark. And you don't use Withstand unless you're, like, trying to invoke some kind of strategy or you're fighting a boss. Those are the only times you use Withstand. And then it's okay. But usually if you're bringing Leper to a boss, you want him to kill it. So you need to give him damage. You don't want him to tank. If you want to tank, you bring Man-at-Arms or whoever, Antiquarian, to force guard on people, which I guess you could do with Leper. So, I don't know. I think this is actually just not good. But I'm sure someone's going to tell me it's at least B. The Redemption Armlet, this is actually pretty good. So you have 15% damage up front, and then you get minus virtue on someone that can heal their own stress, and they're getting a lot of stress worked off because they're killing stuff. It's actually really good. This thing, the Fortunate Armlets, I like that in the S tier. So you get 3 crit and 8 accuracy, which is a great combination for Leper because he already has pretty good base damage, and then 10 stress on top of it. Not the biggest deal to Leper. Leper can deal with it pretty well. The Immunity Mask, I kind of want to make it S. Because I just think this is such a good set of defenses. And the minus 10% HP does kind of suck, but Leper has the most HP in the game. So him losing 10% is, like, simultaneously the most impactful, but then, like, not impactful at all. Because he has so much, but he loses a lot because of that percentage. So this, I like this in A. I actually use this quite a bit on Leper if I'm going to like Endless Harvest or something like that, because Leper is going to be taking quite a bit of damage, so being able to block all that is really nice. The Berserk Mask, this is A, I think. Yeah, I'm going to leave this in A, because if I want speed with my Leper, I'm bringing Jester, and I want Leper to be a little bit slower so I can set him up, so I can like pull people to him, or move stuff out of the way so he can hit squishier targets. So the speed isn't as helpful. And then also if you're using Jester, after you get a couple of battle ballads down, you're probably going almost first anyway, especially against frontliners. And then it's 8 crit, which is nice, but I'd rather also, you know, for an orange trinket, this thing has to run against Ancestor's Pen. It's like, would you rather have 10% damage on Leper's enormous attack stat? I would much rather have the 10% damage than the 3 speed. And then I'd rather have the 10% stress than these two together. So I think it's only A, which is still good, but I don't know. I know people like this item. I'm not a huge fan. The set, though. I think if I made this video a week ago, I would value this set much less. And I'm going to make the Will and Testament. This is B to me. It's good. Don't get me wrong. But it's like, how much HP and prot does Leper need? You know, he's going to take a lot of damage from bleeds more than anything else. So, you know what? Let me start again on that. It would be A if it didn't have the minus death blow. Like, that's really what's doing it for me. The minus death blow is just too hard for me to get around. Even if it does take an actual act of God to kill Leper, or at least get him to Death's Door, I just don't like having minus 10% death blow at like at any point. I just don't value that too highly. Or in terms of being like a negative, it's hard for me to overlook. The Tin Flute, This is another thing where if I made this video last week, I actually wouldn't think this is that good. So, Thick Veiny Sausage actually made a video that I got to watch, and he showed off the flute, and the flute is ridiculous. Like, this thing is very powerful, and obviously you want to camp with it. So if you get to camp and hit this, it's some really strong stress healing. And then you get the constant minus 20% stress. And even though Leper can work off his own stress pretty easily, having minus 20% stress unconditionally is always like A tier so far. And then having some other benefit on top usually pushes it into S. So I think if we're being consistent, this has to be an S tier trinket. The set together is, I would still make it an A tier set, because I don't like conditional accuracy for this character because he really, really needs the accuracy. If this threshold was lower, like if he was under 30%, then sure, that's actually okay. I would be okay with that. But it's not. And even though Leper gets the extra defense, you can still get him down to 60% somewhat easily. So, I don't know. Maybe more testing is required. I would like to have some kind of crit or flat damage on top of that. Because I think that even though accuracy is the most important stat, I have like 1,000 ways to get accuracy by level 6. The Leper's Pendant, if I can find it, or the medallion, right? No, Petrified Amulet, that's what it is. This thing is actually okay, but I don't like the bandage as the conditional with the minus bleed resist. Like, Leper always bleeds. And then also the fact that he always bleeds, unless you're not bringing Plague Doctor, he's going to be spending bandages, and you're going to run out of this 10 accuracy pretty quick. But otherwise, you know, if you have it, 10 accuracy, 15% HP, not too bad. I guess we have to move to Man-at-Arms. Cleansing Eye Patch. That's a lot of stats for a common. So if you need to go into the Warrens, which is weird because you get this out of the Wield, this is like better for the Warrens than the Wield. But if you go in there, then you have some pretty strong resists, and Man-at-Arms likes to be able to resist stuff. I think I'm going to be talking about this with Man-at-Arms quite a bit, but usually Man-at-Arms dies to stress, not direct damage. So as good as Prot is for him, it's not as amazing as it could be. The Sly Eye Patch. I'm just cutting that thought off right there. I'm not going any further with that. So Man-at-Arms doesn't have great dodge baseline, and oops. Man-at-Arms also wants to, or like, he's more reliable as a damage soak tank. So you want him to guard stuff. And so the 4 dodge is kind of negligible. And then you get the minus stun chance. This is actually bad. This is cell tier. So you get the minus stun. And even though it's only minus 10, you do not want your guard tank to be getting stunned, because then he just doesn't get to guard. So that's why this thing can't even ever like be okay. I'd rather get dodge from something else. Let's see. The Longevity Eye Patch. Okay. The first time I did this video, I discovered something, and then I got very angry. So this thing, it's a cell tier trinket, and I'll show you why. So you have 15% max HP, and then 2 speed. Right? That's a class trinket. Oops. Life Crystal is plus 20% max HP and minus 1 speed, and it's a freaking neutral. So why the hell do I have a neutral power creep trinket in like the uncommon pool where my my class trinket is the weaker version? It's supposed to be the other way. The class trinkets are supposed to power creep the neutrals, not the neutrals power creeping the class trinkets. That is crap. The only way this would even remotely be okay is like you go, well, you know what, Shuffle? I just wanted to run the highest health point Man-at-Arms I've ever done in my life. So I put this eye patch and the life crystal on. I have plus 35% life, minus 3 speed. And I'll tell you what, I look like the Great Wall of China at that point. It's like, okay, I guess. Go off, King. But you know what? This thing is bad. I hate this. I hate it so much. Now I'm done with it. So now I'm going to go to Rampart Shield. This is actually okay. I don't think it used to have the minus damage. I think it was just like plus 40, 40. And that was pretty busted. And like you could just put that on every single, you know, Man-at-Arms build. And now it's okay. So if you want to use like a big control Man-at-Arms, so you have like Rampart and then bolster, command, guard, stuff like that combination, you're not worried about your damage, then Rampart gets a lot better. But if you want to riposte, then it actually kind of sucks. So if you're riposting, have some way around it or take like a different stun trinket, but it's hard to pass up a 30% stun. So that's actually pretty good, though. Like, that's an argument for S, but it does lock him out of Retribution, or makes his Retribution pretty bad, so I don't like it that much. Guardian Shield. If you can get this thing to work, please tell me. Tell me your Guardian Shield teams. Like, your Shield Team 6 or something, dude. Because I have tried to make this thing work, and I'm not pretending like I'm the best player at this game, but I feel like I understand the characters enough that I should be able to make this thing, like, broken if I wanted to, but I haven't been able to do it. So I just don't think Guardian Shield is that good. Like, I see the potential. It's highly defensive. I think the problem I was running into is that Man-at-Arms doesn't get a lot of... Like, his rank 4 moveset isn't a good one. So you just sit there... I think that's why it's bad, because you can't usually use Retribution. You have to sit there and just guard and hit buffs over and over, and, like, that's all you get to do. Okay, yeah, I solved the puzzle. That's why I don't like it. The old unit standard from the CC set, I actually like this a lot. Is that? Yeah, that's S. No, it's A. It's A. Alright, take 2. So the old unit standard, this is A. It has some really good stuff going for it. The bonus stun, the bonus debuff if you want to bellow, the bonus death blow is really awesome on him. But it's the 10% stress. That's what throws me off. And as I've been saying, stress is what kills Man-at-Arms. Like, most of the time, it's not hit point damage, it's heart attacking or afflicting, and then he just does something like not guarding, and then someone else dies. That's when it's bad. So I'm not in favor of giving Man-at-Arms more stress. That's actually a huge downside for him specifically. And the Toy Soldier is actually okay. So 10 prot, unconditional, which is nice, and then you get the extra 5 crit. So that helps you stick Rampart stuns, and also it helps your riposte. And then this makes your riposte a lot better. So I would actually run this and still not use Bellow, just because you get the extra stun chance, and then you get like a good riposte and guard and stuff like that. That's usually my preferred way to play this. So like I would run, what is it, Rampart, Retribution, Guard, and Bolster. Like that's the setup I run with this, and I like it quite a lot because I think Bellow is kind of bad. I always get pushback on that too, which is fine. Everyone's like, no, Bellow's good, Shelf, you're just sleeping on it. I was like, alright, maybe. Not a fan though. The Mirror Shield, I wish this thing was good. I wish it was good. I want it to be good so bad, because I love the idea of it. I love the idea of just bouncing back damage at people that they can't resist and stuff like that. But in execution, it's just not good. So this, small paragraph on the right, it's just saying that if Man-at-Arms takes like damage, he's reflecting the damage he takes, not the damage he was supposed to take. So if you have like a 10 damage hit coming in, you have 30 prot, that shaves off 3 damage, which means you're doing 7 to Man-at-Arms. He doesn't bounce 30% of the 10 that came into him. He bounces 30% of the 7. So that does kind of wear it down, especially if you're like spam guarding. And then the bonus stun is like the only saving grace on this thing, because plus 10 dodge, I am trying to get hit with this thing. Like, I'm just going to leave it here. You know what? Fight me. So I'm trying to get hit. If I'm trying to reflect damage, I want them to hit me. In the immortal words of Heath Ledger's Joker, I want them to hit me, but they don't get to, because I have 10 dodge and bolster. It's like, what the hell? Getting too animated. We're skipping Musketeer because she's basically Arbalest. The Occultist. The Eldritch Killing Incense, this used to be just even better, because I think it was like 20% extra damage. And if you want to, you know what? Screw it. We're up here. So this is really good early on, because like this is almost comparable to Eldritch Slayer Ring, which is a blue trinket. And since Occultist is an Eldritch Killing specialist, and there are a lot of Eldritch enemies in the game, this makes him a pretty solid DPS early on, and you can even use this at like level 6 if you wanted to. The Evasion Incense, this used to be better because it used to not penalize your speed. They quickly, I shouldn't say quickly, but they did get rid of that. So as such, it's still B, because Occultist likes dodge, but Occultist also likes speed. And I think speed is more important to Occultist than dodge. So losing speed for it, even though it is a pretty good amount, is not as good as it could be. The Cursed Incense, losing 10% on Occultist does suck, but the 40% debuff chance, and the move skill is pretty good, but the 40% debuff lets him stick like everything. And so as long as you can keep him protected or just not getting hit in the face, it's really good, because this lets you spam Weakening Curse, and it's just going to stick. Unless they're like debuff immune, it's going to stick. And you get this really cool like support Occultist setup here, where you can just move and debuff and stuff like that. And it's actually pretty fun to do. So usually you do this on like a stun trinket, and you have a really good like rank 2 occultist. This thing, I guess it could be A, because it's just unconditional damage. 20% flat damage. And then you get, you know, minus or plus 10 stress, but Occultist isn't like a great damage dealer unless it's Eldritch. This kind of lets him be a normal damage dealer. So I guess I'll leave it there. But I think if you lean into his Eldritch killing more, you get more out of him. Because like the reason the Eldritch Killer Incense is good is because he gets bonus damage against Eldritch already, so you're adding that on top of it plus crit. So that's like my distinction here. The Demons, right? Demon's Cauldron. Man, this is something I slept on in my tier list video for heroes. And then, you know, I got a lot of comments about it and I played it a lot. And this is actually another contender for like an unfair trinket. This thing is so stupid. So this opens up Occultist to becoming like a double stun monster. And if you've not played rank 2 or rank 1 Occultist with this and like Vial of Sand and you just like double stun everything in existence, do yourself a favor and do it, because the extra stun skill, obvious. The extra debuff skill, obvious, because, you know, he likes debuff chance. The extra crit is where this gets completely busted, because extra crit allows his moves to get an extra 20% chance to happen, like their effects. So if you get a crit, instead of plus 30 stun, this is plus 50. Instead of 40 debuff, it's plus 60, which makes double stunning much easier to do, lets everything stick, and it works off stress. So as long as you have some kind of stress healer, because this 15 stress is pretty apparent, it's really good for Occultist. I think there are two types of Occultist players. There's people that think Occultist is actually completely nutty, and then there are people who have not tried rank 2 Occultist. So if you are in the latter group, do yourself a favor. Give it a shot. Let's see. What's next? Oh, his Crimson Quartz set. I like his Crimson Quartz set a lot. So you get the plus 4 speed and low torch. It doesn't even have to be torchless. Like, you can go to Half-Light, which is still moderately safe. You know, there's risk, but it's not nearly as dangerous as torchless. And then you get minus 10% HP, which does suck. Bonus damage, and then minus bleed skill chance. This affects his heal. So his heal doesn't really have the bleed problem later on unless there's like debuffs involved or like buff chance on him. But otherwise, having the minus bleed just makes it non-existent. You don't have to worry about it. And then you get the Vial of Sand. Okay, let's move these here. So this is actually like B tier, because you have to play in torchless, or like, I shouldn't even say torchless, like low light, and Occultist is pretty squish, and then he gets more squish, which sucks. And then these upsides aren't great. He does like the 4 speed, so you can do some pretty cool things. If Occultist goes first every turn, you can set up like the rest of your team. But the Vial of Sand though, man, I have to stop messing up takes. But anyway, I was so excited. Vial of Sand though, can we talk about this? Vial of Sand is unfair. So you get all of this stuff together, and like the itemization is good. It's like an S tier itemization, but when you combine it with his abilities, it becomes busted. Vial of Sand is ridiculous. It lets him do everything except like Sacrificial Stab and then his heal, but it's like, who cares? You can use this on so many different Occultist builds. Like, you don't even have to use all 3 of the moves that this applies to. You can just use like 2 of them. And then you just have like really good chances to hit everything. And then you can use some other trinket that helps you, like Ancestor's Map, or some kind of healing trinket like the Ancestor Scroll. And it really gives you a lot of flexibility with Occultist. So I cannot say enough good stuff here. And Occultist not getting stunned is always helpful, because if he gets stunned and you can't do anything about it, he just like melts. And that's not okay. The the set together. What was the last set? It was it was the Man-at-Arms set. So the Man-at-Arms set together is probably an S tier. I don't know if I talked about that. I think I just got too hyped for Occultist. And the Occultist set together is probably an S tier set. No, it's an A tier set. It's an A tier set together. It's just the fact that you have to play in like Half-Light or lower. And the Blood Pact doesn't carry too much weight, but it is a nice set bonus. But also, when you're playing lower torch, enemies have higher accuracy, so it doesn't do as much for him. The Petrified Skull. I don't like this. So there's my spoiler. So you get Prot when attacked by 2 different tribes, which is okay. And you get minus healing received, which sucks, but you get max HP, which is helpful. So, like, this makes him kind of tanky. This is B, but don't trip, right? This is B just because of how it operates. It is cheap as hell. That's pretty nice. So if you're just using it in most circumstances, like if it's not getting one of its prod effects, it's B. But if it's getting one of its prod effects, it's probably A. So it can be useful. The nice selling point is that it's so cheap as well. Alright, PD Chan, let's do this. So the plus 40% disease resist on this herb, this is B tier. It's nice to have until you get literally anything else, then you just sell it and it sits in the box or whatever. And, you know, PD's got okay disease resist and she can cure herself, so it's like, who cares? The Rocket Sensor, this is in fact cell tier because PD has some pretty good base accuracies for her stuff. And then her HP is so bad that losing any more HP is just not helpful. The Witch's Vial, this is S. So this is Dazzling Charm with Power Creep. So you remember how we were screaming about how Life Crystal power creeps a class trinket? This is the proper way to power creep. So it's like, yeah, I could have 10% stun chance with no downside, or I could have 15 stun chance with no downside because it's my class trinket. That's how it's supposed to operate. The Poisoned Herb, this is a B. Just because if you really need the Blight chance, it's good. Probably bring a guard at this point because PD just doesn't like losing 15% of her max. Like, that sucks. The Bloodied Herb. I know I'm going kind of fast. This is another S tier. And it's just because if you look at the item itself, like, think about Flagellant having this. 10% melee accuracy. You know, who cares about Rain of Sorrows? No, we do care about Rain of Sorrows, but you know, 10% melee accuracy, 30 bleed, 20% melee damage on like Punish and Exsanguinate. Would you put that on Flagellant every single time? Yes. Yes, you would, unless you're running some cheeky support build. So the itemization is there. The itemization makes this very good. It's just that Incision is a mediocre move. And Plague Doctor does not like sitting in rank 3 or 2, just because she's more susceptible to dying. But for what it is, like, Incision is almost unplayable without this. Like, that is how I feel. Incision is almost unplayable unless you have Bloody Herb. Or Bloody Herb, excuse me. No surprise here, the Blasphemous Vial is another unfair trinket. This thing is just disgusting. So whenever I make videos and I talk about trying to get trinkets early for like new players or just anyone starting new games, the Blasphemous Vial is always my example because it's that good. I'll always say, yeah, I try and kill Necromancer in like, you know, week 8 or something if I see Blasphemous Vial. Like, that is what I am hunting for on bosses first, like almost every single time. There are only a few other things I will probably get alongside this, but the itemization of Blasphemous Vial is incredible. And the downside, I think it's been nerfed. I think it used to be higher stun chance, and I think the stress bonus was 20%, not 25, so they had to nerf that. And it might have been like 15 accuracy. I don't know. This thing was so overstated, and it also let Plague Doctor just do everything she wanted, no matter what the build was. Because if you play Incision, you still want to stun, because her stuns are just too good to skip. And if you run a support Plague Doctor with like her stuns and Battlefield Medicine and the buff vapors, you can still do that. If you want to run the most common PD setup of Blight and Stuns, this gives it to you. So there's just no build of Plague Doctor that doesn't want this. It's too good to pass up. And it's still probably a bit unfair in terms of its stat distribution. Let's see. The Crimson Quartet. So the subject 40 notes are just very bad. Like, these are literally just trash. And then we have the Dissection Kit, which alongside Bloody Herb is actually pretty good. I don't think you need that much bonus bleed chance, but it's actually really nice. So this is probably A. So I'm going to assume you're using Bloody Herb alongside it. Or maybe this and... Okay, you know what? Let's think about this. Look at Bloody Herb. 20% melee damage and then 30% bleed skill chance with accuracy. The Dissection Kit is actually almost a worse version, because you get 5% more on each of these, but you lose accuracy, and accuracy is the most important damage stat. So like, this set piece almost doesn't compare, or like it's almost the same as Bloody Herb, which is pretty nutty. So when you get these together, you get the Blight and Stun chance, which gives her everything, but unlike Blasphemous Vial, you don't get the accuracy, which PD has pretty good accuracy, but there are some evasive people that she needs to stun, so she wants that extra 15 from the Blasphemous Vial. And why use this and this together for all this when I could just use the Bloody Herb and the Blasphemous Vial together and actually get more collective stats? I just get 20 stress on top of it. I don't know. I don't see a reason to usually put this set together unless you're just trying to, roleplay, something like that. Or if you have a Jester or something to give her accuracy. I don't know. Ooh. The Ashen Distillation. I like this a lot too. This might be another... It's a lot of dodge, dude. I know people always say I overvalue dodge, and I don't quite agree. But the 20 dodge, and then you get 25 blight chance, both those are just good. There's no downside for this. And you have like healing received conditionally, and medicinal herbs are something you don't use too frequently. Like there aren't too many times where you go, that debuff needs to go immediately. There are some of those. But otherwise, this has a lot of uptime. So I think it's pretty good. Plus, it's also cheap. It's like 45? Yeah. Really nice. Shieldbreaker. Shield Bay. The Venomous Vial, this is okay. Her Blight Resist is pretty bad anyway, so who cares if she gets minus 10 on top of that. The Shimmering Scale is nice. 10 prot. It's usable. Downside kind of sucks. Dancer's Foot Wraps. This is another A. Not even for the move resist, just +2 speed. That's how I treat it. She likes to have speed. The Fang Spear Tip, this lets her go into mark parties. It's not that good. But having the Fang Spear Tip, so right here it says plus 35% damage if they're marked. That means any of her moves get plus 35% damage, and then the minus 10 obviously, so plus 25% damage. So if you have any marked team, you can just put Shieldbreaker on it, and she can still like do some kind of synergy because her base damage is very high. And I think this also helps Captivate. I think Captivate gets a mark bonus. So it's okay. I've only busted this out a few times. It's weird to try and make that thing work, so I'm more of a fan of like, I just put the Trinket on, I just get immense value. I don't like having to think too much, although I do it. All right, don't light me up for that comment. The Cure Bully. This thing is S. So let Shieldbreaker be a freaking tank. Her base speed is 9, so she doesn't care about losing 2. It just makes her pretty average on speed. But then she gets to block. So if you have this and like Spectral Spear Tip and the Training Rings, Shieldbreaker gets up to like 57 HP, which is monstrous. There's really nothing else to say about the Cure Bully. It's just like a chunk of HP, lose some speed. So we have the Crimson Court set. Individually, these are actually pretty good. So I would say individually they're like A tier. And then together it's probably an S tier set. You're just missing you're missing accuracy. And Shieldbreaker does want just a bit more accuracy because her accuracies are okay. But she really wants like an extra 10. So she's like always hitting everything that's not like a mosquito. So the set bonus is pretty good too because it makes Shieldbreaker tanky. And also she gets the 10 prot, which is nice, and she can block. And the can't be guarded doesn't matter. Because Shieldbreaker just doesn't care. She can block and defend herself. Spectral Spear Tip. This might be, yeah. It's another, yeah. It is another unfair trinket. So Spectral Spear Tip, it's cheap. At 65 shards, this is like three and a quarter thing from the Stars runs. And then you get 15% damage on Shieldbreaker's massive damage stat. You get 20 Blight skill chance, which she likes to have. 15 HP, or 15 max percent HP to make her tanky. And then the random targeting chance at 5% isn't that big a deal. Usually because with Shieldbreaker, unless you're using a specific team or something like that, turn 1 is Impale, and then you're probably killing something by the start of turn 2. So you have like 1 or 2 enemies down by turn 2, and then even if she gets like the 1 in 20 to hit the wrong thing, it just doesn't matter. So it's really good. And it's like if Shieldbreaker pierces rank 4 instead of rank 1, like are you really upset? Or, maybe vice versa. I can't remember if she can hit rank 4. I think she can actually. So I was like, do you care if Shieldbreaker hits the wrong thing with her massive damage? Usually you don't. Unless like a kill was really riding on it. Now we're going to Vestal. We're almost out of here. Take us home, Vestal Chan. Virtuous Chalice. I have these backwards. Virtuous Chalice, that's cell tier. That's cringe, bro. Minus 5% max HP for 10 Virtue. That's cringe. Then we have the Haste Chalice. And it's like the reason you'd want Vestal to go first is to stun. And they take that from us. It's garbage. The Youth Chalice, this is actually okay. If you need a tanky Vestal that just has like raw healing output, it's usable. The Profane Scroll. This actually makes Bonk Vestal not a meme. So it may... Is it S? Might be S. Dude, it's probably S. This thing is actually pretty... it's good. I'm gonna leave it an A. The 15 stress sucks. But this, her only healing skill from rank 2, besides like camp stuff, is, which I don't even know if she has a... I don't think she has a HP camp healing thing. Actually, I think she does. Anyway, I'm not thinking about camp skills. So, the only heal that she can use from rank 2 is the group heal, but the group heal is like her best heal. So you're actually not upset about that. So this is actually pretty nice. And then you get to bonk stuff with her, you know, moderate backline damage, and then she gets 10 prot. So there is a case to make this S, surprisingly. It's just that bonk Vestal is just freaking meme tier, dude. Sorry, Pansy. So we have the Sacred Scroll is another A tier. You might think this is S. I don't like Sacred Scroll. So you get minus 10% stress, which is great, 33% healing, which is great. Then you get minus stun chance and minus damage. So the only time Sacred Scroll is like super good, you can use it at any time, don't get me wrong. But the only time it's like super valuable is if you're running 2 healing trinkets on Vestal, and you know that she's just healing every single turn, so you just want raw healing output. That's the only time that Sacred Scroll actually gets very good. Because otherwise, Vestal feels a lot better as a character when she gets to stun or chip in on damage, because her damage on Judgment is okay, and her stun is nice to have. So if you're weakening her stun, which that 10% does matter quite a bit, I feel like whenever I lose that 10%, like anything that has base 90 stun resist at level 6, I'm usually not hitting it for some reason, because it's like 30% chance at that point. If they have 65, it's still pretty bad. So, like, the only thing I'm reliably stunning are the freaking Cove Lepers, the pelagic groupers, because they have, like, 50% stun resist. And that is not a feel-good thing to do. So if you want complete raw healing output, then Sacred Scroll is for you. But if you want Vestal to maintain her utility, then you probably don't want to combine these. Because her Judgments are going to hit for... Or not combine these, but use this. Because her Judgments are going to hit for, like, 4, and then she's going to stun, like, 1 out of 6 times or something. I'm exaggerating, but it's not... good. The Atonement Beads are weird, because it's like, we already have Profane Scroll, so why have something not quite as good? So, oh man, it's the same boat I'm putting this in B. It's like, it's the same boat I was in, because if this was for Leper, you know, 15% damage and 8 crit, Leper would love that. So maybe I have to be consistent. It's hard to say. It's just that Bonk Vestal's so bad. It's so bad, dude. So, I don't know. If you're a Bonk Vestal enthusiast, this might be A, but I'm going to leave it in B here. Salacious Diary, this is S tier. This is just raw healing output without a downside. Really nice. And then she has a couple... I think she has 2 different stress healing skills for camping, so that just makes it a lot better. And then if you have the set together, you have to run her in rank 2, which I'm not happy about, because it's like... Why do I have a set that makes me run Vestal in rank 2 when I already have a 1 item that lets me run Vestal in rank 2 with more flexibility? I don't understand that. Like, it's probably difficult to get all these stats together, but Vestal's accuracy is pretty bad. So having, what is it, this, and then like an accuracy trinket is nice, and then having this with no accuracy sucks. You do get this fat stun chance though, so it's like, I don't know. It's kind of a tier, maybe a B tier set. I actually can't definitively say. I have to play with it more. I think that's what it is. Like, I play with it a bunch, but I need to play with it more because I haven't played with it in a while. So maybe that's what's slowing me down. The Heretical Passage. This thing is pretty cool. So you get conditional healing output, which I'm never a fan of conditional healing output, but it is good. And obviously this is just built for Farmstead because you have to kill Husk enemies with it, so... This is a solid A. So if you can keep your Holy Waters in, then Vestal can actually do some pretty moderate damage in the Farmstead, and then there's a lot of Eldritch enemies too, so she can do damage there. And then 10 stress isn't the end of the world as a downside. So, not bad. Alright, here we are after some editing has been finished on all the videos, and I've read a couple comments. I've also talked about it in Discord and stuff like that. So I'm doing this revision at the end of this video so I don't have to make a 4th one. And first of all, here are the Crimson Court sets as I view them in their respective tiers as a pair. I know I kind of said it verbally as I was going through, but people were asking if I would make a separate list or something like that, so I decided to put them all together like this, so it didn't take that long. So obviously, take a couple seconds to look at this, pause the video if you need to, because I'm going to move on right after this. So the changes here, obviously we call this junk tier because you don't want to sell these, but these just usually aren't good together. But individually they can still be okay. So like Shard of Glass, by itself, Shard of Glass is actually okay. It's a lot of bleed chance, and sometimes you don't have to worry about getting bled yourself and you're not using Reclaim. So Shard of Glass is pretty good in that respect. I kind of slept on that. Next is the Dark Crown, and I don't know why I left this in like B. And then I was doing editing and I was like, this should be an A maybe. And then I really thought about it. I was like, this is probably S. Just because this is basically Dark Tambourine without the death blow chance, which is still good enough. Minus 25% stress is a lot, and then a chance to virtue on top of it, like a torchless hero ring in blue is honestly really good. So I think it should actually be up there. I just, for some reason, just didn't put it together because it always comes at a weird time. Like, blue trinkets are kind of hard in that respect because you get them at a weird point in the game. Where sometimes you have some really good orange trinkets and sometimes like you're still using good green ones. Already having to make small edits in this video, but the camping helmet is also S. This is just 10 scouting for basically no downside. The freaking cats, dude. The dirge is actually unfair. This is just amazing since it works in any light level and then you get bonus damage on top of it, which is just a nice thing to have. And the downside's not a big deal. The Eternity's Collar, this gets outclassed by the Martyr Seal, so I'm just going to leave it in B. The Rockets Sensor, I thought this was bad, but then I realized after, you know, talking to people and stuff that this is actually worth considering because it is a lot of accuracy. It's just that Plague Doctor doesn't need a lot of accuracy, but this does kind of put her over the top, and then the minus 5% life is just like 1 hit point, so at that point, who really cares? The Medic Greaves, these are A, just because even though there's a power creep version of them, it's in a different tier of rarity. You know, it's a Crimson Court set trinket, which is actually pretty hard to get consistently unless you play it for a long time. And I was thinking that if I put Crusaders plus 33% healing orders in A, then this, which is pretty comparable to it, should also be an A as well. The Shifting Hide is actually S, just because when you're low health, it gets so strong. Oftentimes, low health and high stress go hand in hand, so being able to cut it by 50% is honestly really good, and I feel like I just haven't thought about it enough. So it is good in that regard. The Wounding Helmet, I'm just going to put it in A. I think I left it in B. I may have left it in A, but I'm just doing it just to cover my bases here. It's a lot of damage. You lose the utility of Bounty Hunter, but you can just make a hyper carry Bounty Hunter with like... You can still use Caltrops if you want to, and mark things and then just hit for high damage, so it is good in that regard. Barristan's Head, I said this was Cell tier. It's actually not Cell tier. And people were telling me that you don't want to sell it because that means that it reappears in the loot pools, which blocks getting the trap gems, which are worth a lot of money. So you don't sell it for that reason alone. You just leave it there because it's actually a net gold loss to keep selling this thing. All right, I think those are all my changes. I'm sorry if I forgot a couple. I might have. I don't know, but that's it. And now I will go into the normal outro that I had for this video. I think that's it. All right, we're out here. Thanks everyone for watching. That's my Trinket tier list. I know it was 3 videos, a lot of talking, a lot of editing, so I appreciate anyone sticking with it. So let me scroll out just a bit here. Okay. Just so y'all can see everything together. It looks like a lot of noise. I know. The S tier is kind of bloated. I'm sure there are people out there that are like, you know, why are there so many things in S tier? That's why we made the unfair tier this time, because there are some things that are just completely busted. Now that I'm looking at it, Hunter's Talons might be worth putting in the unfair, but they're not quite. They're strong, but that's about it. So the list is in fact done. It was fun to do. I'm glad it's over. I've had people ask about this. Only a few people asked, but I went, you know what? Since Tier Maker does have this, let's do it. Let's spend the 4 hours or whatever it is making videos for this. And if you enjoyed this, obviously, let me know. Like, comment, all that garbage. Join Discord if you haven't. Come talk to me. Come talk to other people. We have some pretty awesome people there. And you can ask your questions. You can debate this tier list. You can call me a complete idiot. Like, go ahead. Just be nice about calling me an idiot. Disguise calling me an idiot in a well-constructed argument. And then I'll be okay with that. And I think that's it. So, thanks for watching. Next time, either Arbalest guide or new player guide. I'm going to be working on one of those next. Probably new player, I'm not sure. Depends if there's any Darkest Dungeon 2 news soon, because I am very worried that that's going to come out in like March, and then I'm not going to be able to finish all the stuff I wanted to. And now I'm done. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.